Welcome to AI ConvoCast, where we bring you the latest in AI and tech innovation. Please don't forget to rate, review, and share if you like what you hear. Let's jump right in.
Today, we will be covering Anthropic's top models getting yanked offline by a U.S. export order, the company rushing staff to D.C. to negotiate access back, a multi-state investigation into ChatGPT safety, and Google suing a phishing ring that used Gemini to scam victims. Starting with the biggest story of the week, Anthropic has taken Claude Fable 5 and Claude Mythos 5 offline after a Trump administration directive barred access by foreign nationals, including foreign nationals inside the U.S. and even Anthropic's own foreign national employees. The AP framed this as the U.S. government's most significant move so far to restrict access to advanced AI models. And rather than try to build a partial workaround on the fly, Anthropic disabled both models for all customers while it figures out compliance. Just days after launch, paying developers and cyber defense users woke up to find frontier models simply gone. The apparent trigger was a claimed jailbreak or security concern involving cyber capability in the Mythos and Fable family. Anthropic pushed back hard, saying the government had only provided verbal evidence of a narrow issue, and that the same capability is already available in other frontier models, including OpenAI's GPT 5.5. Anthropic also pointed out that Mythos was specifically aimed at trusted cyber defenders and critical infrastructure operators, meaning the shutdown is hitting the exact good guy users the model was built for. Anthropic's sharpest line in its statement was that the action, quote, does not adhere to those principles, referring to what it called a transparent, fair, technically grounded process for blocking unsafe deployments. This story did not end on Friday. Axios reported Saturday afternoon that senior Anthropic technical staff flew to Washington to meet with White House officials in person and try to restore access. Administration officials told Axios that Anthropic had not engaged seriously, while a source close to Anthropic said its technical team had already been in virtual meetings since the original outreach. Axios summed up the mood by saying sources from both sides are eager to resolve the issue. The reason this matters beyond Anthropic is that it is the first visible procedural fight over model-level export controls. Up to now, export rules have mostly governed chips. This is about the model itself, who can query it, and under what evidence the government can pull the plug. If Anthropic lands a carve-out, an identity-gated relaunch, or some kind of trusted access channel, that framework almost certainly becomes the template the White House uses next time with OpenAI, Google, or xAI. Frontier model access is now a geopolitical control point, not just a product decision. Moving over to OpenAI, which has its own regulatory headache, TechCrunch reported that a coalition of state attorneys general has opened an investigation into the company, with New York serving a subpoena on June 12. The document request is broad and pointed. Advertising practices, engagement and retention design, model sycophancy, handling of consumer and health data, and the treatment of minors and seniors. In other words, regulators are zeroing in on the exact mechanics that make AI assistants sticky and potentially risky for vulnerable users. The timing is awkward because OpenAI is reportedly moving toward an IPO. Safety practices, disclosures, and consumer protection controls are now part of the company's public market story, not just a trust and safety footnote. TechCrunch also placed the probe against the broader legal backdrop OpenAI is already navigating, including copyright suits and lawsuits alleging ChatGPT-linked user harms, particularly around minors and mental health crises. OpenAI's response was measured, saying it takes the concerns raised by state attorneys general seriously and intends to engage constructively. Translation? They want to keep this in conference rooms, not courtrooms, especially while bankers are circling. Sycophancy is the interesting word in that subpoena. Regulators appear to be asking whether models are tuned to agree with users in ways that keep them engaged longer, but can reinforce harmful beliefs or bad decisions, particularly for teenagers or people in crisis. That is a product design question being treated as a consumer protection question, and it could shape how every major chatbot is tuned going forward. Finishing with a concrete look at AI misuse. Google filed a civil lawsuit against a China-based operation it is calling Outsider Enterprise, alleging the group ran a sprawling phishing business that impersonated Google and other trusted brands. The scale is striking. Google says the operation was tied to hundreds of thousands of victims, losses in the millions, around 9,000 fake websites, more than 1 million fraudulent URLs, and 55,000 Android spam text reports in just 2 weeks in May. The group sold what TechCrunch described as a phishing for dummies kit, priced at $88 a week or $200 a month, and used AI platforms, including Gemini, to help scale the campaigns. Google paired the lawsuit with FBI coordination and direct work with major U.S. carriers to block the scam texts before they hit phones. AT&T's Chief Information Security Officer Rich Bache summed up the approach by saying, quote, "Fighting fraud requires collective defense." What that reaction shows is that big AI platforms are increasingly treating abuse not just as a policy enforcement question, but as something they will litigate, and they are pulling telecoms and federal law enforcement into the response. It is also a useful counter to the more abstract deepfake debate, because this is AI misuse in its most boring and most damaging form: cheap, scaled phishing that empties real people's bank accounts.
Thank you for listening to AI ConvoCast. Please don't forget to rate, review, and share if you like what you hear. Thanks and hope to see you again next time.